You're listening to The Drew Yari Show.
That's the wine and diner with kings and queens.
You're looking at the man. You're listening to The Drew Yari Show.
Hey guys, what's going on? It is Thursday, June 18th. We're 3.5 hours a little later today. There's a reason for that, and I will get into it in a bit. I mean, it's nothing major. And my record's not even anywhere near major. It's just like small shit, but I'm your host as always, Jari. This is the Drew Yari Show. I went a little late today because I didn't want to cancel because I think there was just too much to talk about today, and also, I mean, I get tired of canceling shows. I mean, I try to limit a show canceling to at least one a month. Like, basically, if I don't have anything to talk about, then I'll just say, hey, no show tonight, because I don't just want to come over here and be like, Durr. So I heard NXT was good tonight. Like, I'm not gonna bore you guys. I don't know if I bore you guys already, but I decided to start at 8:30. I mean, this isn't a bad time. 5 o'clock's pretty early. It's a pretty good time. So, but yeah. Anyways, so I mean, I did watch NXT earlier, so we'll get into that. I currently have AEW on. What happened earlier was my girl, she got COVID tested last week because the weekend before, she was starting to get sick. On that Saturday before, she got a migraine. And what's going on, Barrett? On the Saturday before that, she got a migraine. And the very next day, she started feeling like really sick, like coughing and sneezing a lot. So she decided to go get tested. So she let her work know, and ahead of time, hey, I'm feeling really sick. I want to play it safe. So I'm going to go get tested. So she hasn't been to work in almost 2 weeks. Which means, hey, you better be safe than sorry. So on Monday she went... Why am I fucking up the days? Monday she was trying to get tested, but apparently they didn't do walk-ins. You have to, make a reservation or appointment or whatever you want to call it. So Tuesday, we took her to go get tested. Since then, they have not notified her. They said they would call her, or I believe at first they said they would email her. And then they said they would call her. They have not done any of that. So we took her to that clinic to find out the results. All they literally said was, what's your number? Or what's your name? What's your number? We'll call you. Not, oh, wait right here. Let me go check and see if your results came in. So there was that. So we came home a little later on because, we were at the mall. I was trying to find something for my dad for Father's Day. My dad's pretty easy to shop for. He likes tools. He likes, sports stuff. He's a Spurs and a Cowboys fan. So I've always bought him, sports shit, like sports memorabilia, which he still keeps. I bought him 2 plaques of Spurs championships. And he still has them hanging in his shed, which is pretty cool. Not a shed, his garage. So we came home, and there was a letter in the mail for her from the clinic, and it was actually dated from the 12th, so last Saturday. And fortunately, the results were she was negative, so she's fine. She can go back to work. But it's really it took you that long? It said 3 to 5 days, and it's already been more than 3 to 5 days. So good news is she's negative. She hasn't had it, so she can go back to work. I mean, fortunately, she was actually still getting paid while being on leave. But I don't know. It just would have been nice to have been notified a little bit sooner. And then today, social media is just blowing up with just I don't know. We're in that cancel culture where you got the one half of people saying we should cancel this person because they said the F word, referring to a gay person, which I'm not going to say. They said it when they were 13 in high school, and now we must cancel them. In this case, you have I guess people that should probably legit be I don't want to say canceled, but dealt with. You have a lot of overseas talent that it's coming out that they were, what's the word, assholes, douche nozzles. For example, you got Jordan Devlin, the NXT UK star. Matter of fact, the Cruiserweight champion. And he still is the Cruiserweight champion. They didn't strip him of the title. He couldn't compete because, the travel schedule and whatnot. A girl by the name of Hannah Francesco, who's at Textbook Glovers from Twitter, had put out a Twitter post saying, this is scary. I'm really scared. Jordan Devlin did this to me, and this is just the physical damage, not including my arse and back bruises, because I don't fancy posting that online. So she proceeds to post these pictures of her legs or thighs and just all these bruises on here, which it's pretty nasty looking. And I'm looking on a page that I have followed on Facebook called Pro Wrestling and MMA World. Let's see. There's more results coming out. Indie wrestler Liz Savage accuses NWA VP Dave Lagano of sexual assault. Holy shit. If they were going to get rid of Jim Cornette for making that dumb joke, they for damn sure will get rid of this fucker. I don't even know if I should read the stories. I mean, should I or shouldn't I? I'm just going through these names. Let's see. There's a post. WWE rumored to have a meeting on UK talent today. For those unaware, within the past 48 hours, Jordan Devlin, Leghetto, Travis Banks, David Starr, Joe Coffey, Marty Scurll, and Joey Ryan and Jimmy Havoc and many others have all been exposed as abusers. Marty Scurll, isn't he like a booker in Ring of Honor? Jimmy Havoc being accused of mentally and verbally and physically abusive relationship with Rebecca Crow. Rebecca Crow, who's at Cats and Crows on Twitter. This story isn't any story. A lot of my memory of this abuse is distorted because I was battling drink and substance abuse to cope. That does not make it invalid. I'm speaking out because I don't want anyone else to get hurt. And I don't think I'm alone. TW, relationship abuse. It's a pretty long story. Let's see. The story she tells is she dated Jimmy Havoc for almost 3 years. Why didn't you leave sooner? Or why didn't I leave sooner? That's what she said. So many reasons. He would routinely try to self-harm in front of me when we fought, which was often. Oh my god! I keep getting texts from the WNC channel. I'm just gonna get off that channel. I don't even go on it. I had to fight quote unquote scissors and blades out of his hands on more than one occasion. I tried to call ambulances for him, and he would snatch the phone out of my hands. Every other week, I would receive a fresh threat of suicide. He would sit next to me and refuse to speak to me, and I refused to even look at me for hours as I cried and screamed and begged him. I defended him to all my friends. He had a rough childhood. He only shows anger and violence and love. Okay. But even after hundreds of turning points, the screaming in my face never stopped. He's so afraid when we were in his car. I would be so afraid when we were in his car. He would drive incredibly dangerously when angry. Knowing I had PTSD from a previous accident. He would throw a suitcase around in the street at shows, kicking and screaming when I didn't want to follow his plans. He would punch walls and cry himself to sleep repeatedly in front of me as I cried. One of the ones he told me that I was a horrible person and I didn't love him, and I was hurting him on purpose, and then I made him want to die. It goes on from here. And then David Starr. David Starr I don't know that well. I would hear the name a lot, from Wrestling Soup and whatnot. He was known as a guy that would, virtue signal. He was a virtue signaler. Like he would try to do the whole, we need to respect women, we need to be about, A, B, C, and D. We need to be about these persons' rights, blah, blah, blah. Which, I shouldn't say it's funny, but it's funny because we all, the prognosis of, these type of people is that anyone who does this type of stuff, who virtue signals and says A, B, C, and D, we need to be like A, B, C, and D, we need to be more nicer to people, we need to respect the ladies, we need to respect, minorities. Those are usually the people that have the most to hide. Those are usually the people that have, the skeletons in the closet. So, whatchamacallit? Revolution Pro Wrestling, the Southside Championship has been declared vacant. So I'm assuming he was the champion. OTT Wrestling, with immediate effect, we declared the OTT Championship as vacated. A decision on the future of the title will be made as a return to active competition. He's with a couple indie companies. I think this is the first one I saw. The WWE star Legado, accused of sexual harassment. Indie wrestler Natalie Skies has publicly called out WWE star Legado for sexually harassing her. So yeah, it's a pretty lengthy story. I'll be honest, I never even knew who that guy was, because I don't follow the NXT UK show that much. I know a few names. I don't know everybody. It's pretty bad. I wouldn't be surprised if, WWE decides to let him go. And this is coming off the heels of, a post I saw earlier that Julian posted. Oh, no, was it Julian or John Draper? One of them posted it, that the indie, wrestling landscape in London is pretty bad. So I don't know where he would go. I don't even know anyone who would want him, based off of these accusations. And then you got the other names like, Marty Scurll, which, that's a shocker. That's a pretty big shocker. You would think somebody who's, best friends with the Young Bucks, even though they're kind of dickweeds, they seem like pretty stand-up guys. They seem like they wouldn't do shit like that, or they wouldn't be involved with people who do shit like that. Joey Ryan's not that shocking. Again, another guy who pretends the virtue signal, but then he's out there, having people touch his dick. It's a tough pickle. If this were 15 years ago, I'm not even sure if we'd be having this conversation. Now with, the whole Me Too thing and cancel culture, which, ironically, Joey Ryan has a gimmick on Impact Wrestling where he's in a group called Cancel Culture, which is kind of similar to Right to Censor. For WWE, they're in a pickle. I'm not sure what to say about this. It's really shocking. It's shocking because we're hearing about these stories. It seems like, and I'm fucking up my words, but it's pretty disgusting, Corbin. It's like, it's crazy because when the whole Me Too thing started, we were hearing countless story after countless story after countless story. It seemed like for a bit it died down, but then just recently it just came back out of the woodwork. And for WWE, since they're a publicly traded company, and since they like to pretend that they care about, common issues and, real life issues and social issues, they're going to have to get rid of this guy. They're going to have to get rid of anyone else on the roster that's ever been accused of this. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're not going to get rid of Randy Orton. I mean, if they didn't do anything about Randy Orton apparently pulling out his dick and touching it and making Creative shake his hand, then they're not going to get rid of him. We're talking about Jimmy Havoc, and now he's on screen. And that's another thing. AEW. AEW's whole thing is we're a progressive company. We're all about social agendas. We want everybody to get a fair share here. They're going to get rid of that fucker. Like, that's for damn sure. There's no doubt in my mind that AEW is going to cut ties with him. The minute they saw this, they're going to get rid of him. And Penelope Ford looks good. I probably shouldn't say that, but it's disgusting. It's disgusting, and a lot of these guys should be dealt with. They really should. And if we're going back to Jordan Devlin Devlin's he's their cruiserweight champion. I think people forgot that he's still the cruiserweight champion. He never lost it. They had to start that tournament primarily because he's stuck overseas and the whole COVID situation. So I was assuming that the winner of this cruiserweight tournament, they're gonna do like Razor and Shawn at Mania, where Jordan comes back. He's like, no, I'm the real cruiserweight champion. He's a fake and blah blah blah. They would do something like that. But I mean, I don't know if they were going to do that. It looks like they're not, based off of what this guy's doing or did. So it's like Corbin said, it's disgusting. It's pretty bad. It looks bad for the company. It looks bad for any company that would keep these guys, any indie company that would continue to keep these guys or girls. So my whole thing is a lot of these wrestlers that I don't want to say partake because that sounds fucked up, but like a lot of these guys that do this shit and they know about it, how do they not think it's going to come back to haunt them? You know what I mean? When you know that you said something dumb in a Facebook or a Twitter post or an interview from 10 years ago, how do you, especially in the culture we live in, how is it in the back of your mind you're thinking, no one's going to remember that. It's not important. You know what I mean? Or in a guy like Devlin's case, you beat the shit out of your girlfriend. How do you not think in your head for 1 second, this isn't going to come back to bite me in the ass? It's just, honestly, a lot of these guys are stupid. They are stupid as hell. And, I'm not going to just say the guys, the women have been guilty of that. You look at Tessa Blanchard, just the story that just seemed to just conveniently go away, where she was apparently a bully overseas and said the N-word and acted like a racist towards a lot of black, women wrestlers. But I don't know. It seems like a one-way street because you don't see a lot of the women getting in trouble, and yet the guys are. And again, I'm not. Don't get it twisted. I'm not trying to turn this into another conversation. I'm not trying to compare an abusive relationship to what happened with Tessa Blanchard. I'm not. But I don't see how Tessa Blanchard didn't get in trouble. I do and I don't, because she was a name. She had name value, and that's unfortunate in the business because again, a guy like Randy Orton, he was accused of all kinds of fucked up shit, but he's not getting in trouble because he's Randy Orton. A guy like Jordan Devlin's going to get released. There's no doubt about that, because Jordan Devlin, a good wrestler, is not Randy Orton. He doesn't have that name value. He will definitely get fired. There's no doubt about that. Jimmy Havoc will get fired. I mean, I never liked the guy personally. It doesn't surprise me that this comes out. The guy's obviously a freaking wackadoo. And you got this Legado guy. He's gone. And for WWE, AEW, I'll even throw Impact Wrestling in there. It says they're going to meet up in 40 hours, decide what to do with their talent. Mainly just WWE. But here's one thing they need to do. They really need to talk to their talent and go, okay, if there's anything you need to tell me right now. Because if we find out in 2 months that you did A, B, C, and D, you're in trouble. You need to tell us right now. If there's any dumb Twitter post that you made 10 years ago. Which, in their defense, I don't think anyone's going to remember anything they posted on the internet 10 years ago. I mean, if anyone has Facebook, there's that thing that says, on this day, you bought a Dr. Pepper on June the 18th, 2012. So not everyone's going to remember what they posted, but it helps to at least go through your posts and let someone know about it. Or not even let someone know, delete it. Get rid of that shit. Don't give people a chance to even look on it. I mean, there's a website where you can actually look at your old posts. So there's that. And there's also personal shit like, did you ever get in trouble? Did you ever go to jail? Did you ever get into a fight with somebody? Did you ever do something that's dumb? Like, let us know right fucking now so we can handle it. And so it doesn't come back to bite you in the ass. Or did you ever make a sex video? I'm putting out different ideologies. I mean, because the sex video is different because they haven't fired anyone for that. They sure as hell didn't fire Paige. They didn't fire Xavier Woods. Brad Max got fired a long time ago, but we have assumptions as to what that was about. Nobody ever got fired for that. Matter of fact, it seemed like they got rewarded for it. But, for stuff like this, if you did something stupid, like beat your wife or your kids, or you did something that was completely fucking stupid, you need to let them know. It's definitely a black eye in the business. And again, for someone like Dave Lagana, who fired Jim Cornette because he decided to give in to the Internet Wrestling community because they hated Jim Cornette because he hated their favorite wrestlers, this fucker's going to get in trouble. This fucker better either resign immediately or get fired. And then there was a story that just came out not too long ago before the show even started. Let's see. Jim Cornette's wife, Stacy. I'm on Twitter. Somebody AKI _evolution at Twitter had this to say about Jim Cornette's wife, Stacy. I made a very vague post yesterday about Jim Cornette. In the face of current events, I feel the need to clarify and speak up. During the first year of this business, his wife Stacy attempted to groom me. She approached via DM. She sent me lewd photos I never asked for, implied protection from the Kentucky Commission, stating he was a family friend, and told me she was going to fuck me, as if I didn't have a choice. My experience with them is tame compared to others, though. When Jim was booking at OVW, if you wanted a contract or on his show, you had to perform sexual acts on his wife. Many times with him watching. This has happened for many, many people. A close friend of mine was groomed and basically brainwashed by them for years. When he finally escaped, Stacey went to great lengths to not only terrorize him, but to actually try to have other wrestlers physically assault him. Oh. So, unfortunately, this isn't just bad for his wife. This is going to be bad for Jim as well. Because based on the story, it shows that he was involved in it somehow. It's kind of similar to, the whole Fabulous Moolah thing where she was, apparently pimping out girls. This is bad for Jim because she went after the guy now on Facebook. Corbin just put that. There's no way that Jim Cornette is going to not talk about this. And there's no way the IWC is not going to go after Jim Cornette. They have hated him for years. They still hate him. This kind of gives them credence to really try and, cancel him, quote unquote. So, I'm kind of speechless because before I even read that post, I just assumed it was about Stacy. Now it seems like, Jim Cornette's involved somehow. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad because with this, it seems like there's going to be more and more stories coming out. I don't even know what to think. I don't even know what to think because, Cornette, say what you want about him, he's always been entertaining. I listen to his podcasts every day. I listen to both podcasts when they come out. I love him. I love Brian. Brian's not involved. He has really nothing to do with this. But how does this affect Cornette? Like, is he done making podcasts? Again, he's going to have to address this on the next show. Which I believe his next show is it's The Experience, which is usually on Saturdays, I believe. And then Mondays are the drive-in. So, if any, he's going to address it on possibly The Experience, if not the drive-in. I mean, well, because A, he doesn't charge for podcasts. I know he has his Patreon. But his, the Experience and the drive-in, they're on, everywhere else. So, you can't just call podcast companies and just say, hey, you have to cancel these guys because they have to cancel their own show. I have a feeling he might go on hiatus. Just until, maybe this all blows over, which I doubt it will. Oh. And then, there's a story that came out yesterday with Danny Masterson. If anyone ever watched that 70 show, he played Hyde. Well, this story came out a couple years ago where he was accused of, raping 3 women. Now he's officially gotten charged with 3 rapes, with 3 counts of rape, both with 15 years on him each. So, if he gets convicted, he will go to jail for 45 years. It's in the same vein of Jim Cornette, which he didn't rape anyone. But he's involved in this, grooming story about his wife, forcing people apparently to have sex with his wife. It's unfortunate. I mean, I'm not saying it's true, but it's unfortunate to hear this because even if he's innocent, again, there's always going to be that stigma of, oh, he did it. He had to have done it because, of course, he's going to get away with it because he had money and blah, blah, blah. Even that stigma is always going to cast some doubts. You know what I mean? Like, there's going to be a part of anyone that listens to a show, even if he's innocent, that's going to think, did he really do any of that? Kind of same thing with Danny Masterson, where even if he's innocent, you're going to watch that 70s show and just feel awkward. It's a tough world we live in where people that you admired and, were entertained by, you start to think, are they really this monster? Are they really this awful person? Are they really, this sleazeball? And fingers crossed, I'm hoping it's not true. But it's just very unfortunate for Cornette. It's very unfortunate for his wife. So, I mean, for all we know, there's going to be more stories tomorrow. There's going to be more stories next week. Let's kind of switch topics. We'll kind of get out this very kind of downer of a subject. And just to kind of switch gears to more wrestling talk, positive wrestling talk, however you want to look at it. So I did talk about NXT last night. Or I watched NXT earlier. I currently have AEW on. It's kind of hard to focus, talking about all this shit. So NXT was last night, or it was last night. I watched it today. You had the NXT Tag Champions defending against, or the NXT Tag Champions Imperium defending against Breezango. Breezango came out imitating Imperium, which was kind of fun. The match overall was pretty good. Pretty nice, fast-paced match. During the match, who the hell was it? Those two giant, those two big, like Middle Eastern Indian guys came out. I don't know who the fuck they are. With Malcolm Bivens. And what the fuck happened? Imperium came out and attacked him. And then there's a big schmaltz outside the ring. Breezango goes for a move. He tries to pin one of the Imperium guys, but that guy's not legal. And then the other Imperium guy, the bald one, Eichner, pins him because he's legal. 1, 2, 3. Imperium are still the tag champions. And then Oni Lorcan and whatchamacallit. Oni Lorcan and Danny Burch come out and make the save for Breezango. So, who are those two guys, by the way? Those two giant Indian-looking guys. I literally have no clue who those two are. Either I'm not paying enough attention to NXT, which, I watch it every week. Even when I miss it, it's still on my DVR. But who are those two guys? I literally have no clue who those guys are. They obviously must not be that important since I literally have no clue who they are. Let's see. Damian Priest versus Killian Dane. Damian Priest I have not seen in a while. Induce Sure? Is that what they're called? Induce Sure? I guess. I don't care. I don't know and I don't care. Damian Priest I have not seen in a while. He has been off TV for a while. I don't know if he was overseas or they just haven't been using him. He comes out with a Sanity-esque type entrance, but they're not using the Sanity entrance. They're letting Nikki Cross keep the Sanity entrance music, which I think is interesting. So, but yeah, I like Killian Dane. He's someone that's got talent. He's a big guy that can move around pretty well. But to me, his ceiling is more so of just a big guy. Just a big guy that can have good matches. Maybe possibly North American champion. He needs to get himself over, though. He needs to have more of a personality. Because you can only do so much of the, hey, I'm a big guy and I can move well and I can beat the shit out of people. He needs a personality. He needs to get himself over a little bit. Because I like him. I want to see him do well. I want to see him get moved up to the card a little bit more. I'm not saying he could be NXT champion. Maybe North American champion at best. But again, I like him. I think he could be used a little bit better. I'm imagining him and Keith Lee would be pretty interesting. So, Damian Priest wins. Damian Priest, again, he's okay. I'm not that impressed by him. I don't think he's that good. I think he's decent. I don't know. A lot of people like him. He's not my cup of tea. New Age Baron Corbin. I think he's a little bit better in the ring than Baron Corbin. And I think he looks a little bit more intimidating than Baron Corbin. But I don't know. It's just my opinion. But yeah, he's not my cup of tea. I don't think he's that interesting. He kind of looks like janky Scott Hall. Minus the personality. So let's see what's next. You got Aaliyah versus Xia Li. Here's one thing I didn't know. Aaliyah, this girl has been in NXT for a long time, and they have not done anything with her. They have not called her up. And she's actually, from what I've seen her in, she's actually a lot better in the ring than a lot of these broads are on the main roster. She's a lot better than the Iconics. She's a lot better than Carmella, which is funny because at first I called her Carmella. I called her Brown Carmella, or Browner Carmella. And she's actually a lot better in the ring than Carmella. She looks a lot better than Carmella. And they have not attempted to bring her up on the main roster or do anything with her even in NXT. Which, granted, they have a lot of people in NXT. They have a lot of, female talent in NXT. So you can only do so much with, a lot of people when, you got to give Rhea Ripley her TV time. You got to give Io Shirai the TV time. You got to give Tegan Nox, Dakota Kai, TV time. So someone like Aaliyah is going to get left out in the dust for a bit. But I don't know. I think she's good. I think she has something. Xia Li has something. This was kind of a quick match. Whatchamacallit. Robert Stone, who's been jaded recently because he lost Chelsea Green. Now he's apparently an alcoholic. He's apparently a bum. During the match with Dane and Priest, Dane beat the shit out of him. So during this match, Robert Stone gets on the apron to kind of not really distract the ref, but he has to throw up. So he ends up throwing up on the ring in front of Lee. So Aaliyah goes for the schoolboy, botches the schoolboy pin. It looked like she botched it. And on the screen, it clearly said NXT Live. So she goes for the schoolboy pin and gets a 2 count. But then, I guess, maybe, I don't know if she botched it or Lee botched it, because I guess Lee didn't have her arms on the mat. So she goes for the schoolboy pin a second time and wins. So, there's that. And then she helps Robert Stone to the back. So, or Robbie E., formerly in Impact Wrestling. So, and before that, they had a vignette with Timothy Thatcher, who's playing the role of Stu Hart, torturing younger wrestlers, hurting them, making them tap out. So Timothy Thatcher I like. He just needs a personality. Let's see. You have Adam Cole in the back talking about Cross and saying Cross needs to just wait in line like everybody else. Keith Lee comes up to Adam Cole, calls him out, saying, if anyone's gonna end your streak, it's gonna be me, not Cross. Takes the hourglass and throws it on the ground and just crushes it. Which that intrigues me because later on in the night, you show in the back, the screen is black and white. You see the feet of Scarlett looking at the broken hourglass and just picking up the sand. Then you see a giant boot crush one of the shards of glass. So that in my mind kind of sets up what I think is going to happen, which we'll get into in a bit. Adam Cole came out and just talked a lot of shit, did his old usual shtick. Keith Lee comes out and starts talking to Adam Cole. No, wait, was it Adam Cole? Was it Keith Lee that came out first? Yeah, Keith Lee came out and talked a little shit and said, I want my title shot, blah, blah, blah. Gargano comes out, in his white jacket and his white sneakers, which I thought was kind of funny. Comes out and, blames Keith Lee for what happened last week. And, Keith Lee was like, I seem to be more concerned about your wife than you did. And then he kind of makes a little joke saying, as I had a tear rolling down my cheek, she says to me, that's more action than I've had in a while. Which I thought was kind of funny. Finn comes out, tells Gargano, you're the one that has to wait in line. I just cut the line. Goes up to Keith saying, I called you out last week. I want that title. And then after I'm done with that title, I'm coming after you. Going up to Adam Cole. And then kind of like motions an X right in his face saying, that's where I'm going to punch you. So William Regal gets on the screen and makes a proclamation for next week. Next week will be a triple threat for the North American title. It will be Keith Lee versus Johnny Gargano versus Finn Balor. The winner of that will not only be the North American champion, but he will also face Adam Cole for the NXT Championship on the July 8th episode of NXT. So basically 2 weeks after that. So we have that to look forward to. How I think Cross gets involved in this is this could go one of two ways. I think he will cost Keith Lee the title, and then they'll set up their feud at whatever the next takeover is, which is, I'm assuming, TakeOver Los Angeles, which that's if we're going to have fans in the audience, which I doubt it, because this whole second wave of COVID shit. So basically, TakeOver. Or Keith Lee wins the match. He goes on to face Adam Cole, and then Cross costs him the title. So, I like the first idea better, in my opinion. I don't see Cross as a guy going after small potatoes. And by small potatoes, I mean the North American Championship, because to him, the big ticket is the NXT Championship. Because, he sent Scarlett to go punk out Adam to let him know, hey, your time's up. And it's not just your time is up, it's your title reign is up. So whenever they decide to have that happen, here's my idea. And I don't know if anyone will go for this. That depends if, they have, a lot of people to kind of be put in the spot before Crosses. I would say keep it on Adam Cole until the next Mania, which is, the TakeOver Mania. That's, again, hopefully by next year, fans are going to be in attendance. So Adam Cole is still champion, and then that's when you bring in Cross. And then roughly around that time, which I guess, say the TakeOver that's in spring, or that's before, that TakeOver in Mania, Cross comes out after that match. I'm just going to do some booking. So let's say they have a TakeOver next February, like they did this year, February or March. After that match, Cross comes out. Cross and Scarlett come out and let them know your time's up. I'm coming after that title. That could be your TakeOver main event for next year. It can be Cross versus Adam Cole. Or that's if Adam Cole ends up, staying with NXT, WWE, which he will. They love him here. There's no way he's going to AEW. The WWE is going to pay him any number he wants. They gave him his own faction. They allowed him to be the longest reigning NXT champion in history. They love him. They love him up there. So he's not going to go to AEW. There's no chance in hell he's going to AEW. If he went to AEW, it'd be interesting. But he's not going. So. I'm having a sip of my drink. But, yeah, that's just how I see it. But, yeah, Cross and Keith Lee, that'd be interesting. That's an interesting matchup because now Cross has a guy that he's not just going to squash. This is going to be his first match on NXT where you get to actually see him work a little bit more. Where you have two guys out there that are both brawlers, but they're also good wrestlers. It's going to be an interesting matchup. I honestly can't wait for Can't wait to watch it happen. So, yeah, the next match being Dakota Kai with Raquel Gonzalez versus Kaden Carter. I actually fast-forwarded through this match because I had... That's the good thing about DVR is that you can fast-forward. I had literally no interest in this match. Kai won. Surprise, surprise. You had Bronson Reed versus Leon Ruff. Another match I fast-forwarded through, but I kind of had it spoiled for me last night. Bronson Reed called out Cross. If you guys remember, Cross came out and beat the shit out of Bronson Reed while he was having a match with someone. I believe it was who's the Rob Zombie looking guy that wears like the top hat? Who's that guy? I forget his name. But whatever, it'll come to me. So Bronson Reed versus Cross next week, which should be an interesting matchup. But Bronson Reed, he's gonna lay down for Cross. There's no doubt about that. Santos Escobar makes a statement at the expense of Drake Maverick. Drake Maverick comes out and tries to take on all three guys, gets his ass beat. So whenever this match is going to happen, I'm assuming it's in a couple weeks or at the TakeOver. I don't know what they're going to do with this feud. It's interesting because you have a backstory behind it. I like the fact that they took the mask off this guy because the point of masks is that they're for people that have baby faces. Rey Mysterio has always worn a mask mainly because A, he respects the tradition, but Rey Mysterio in reality has a baby face. He literally looks like he's 12. This guy, Santos Escobar, he looks like a man. He has a man face. So he doesn't need a mask. So then you got the main event, the women's tag team champions Sasha and Bayley versus Tegan Nox and Shotzi Blackheart. I mean, there's no surprise, Bayley and Sasha are going to win. They're going to hold on to these titles for a while, I can already tell. I doubt it's going to be until SummerSlam. Maybe until the end of the year, maybe until next Mania. I don't know. They've really... It almost seems like it's been two and a half years that they've been pushing this narrative with these two girls, which is, they're best friends, but they really hate each other. No, they really don't. They're really best friends. But are they? That's what they're doing with Sasha. They're pushing it that Sasha's going to turn on Bayley. It looks like Sasha's going to end up being the face, and Bayley's going to stay the heel, which I kind of wish it was the other way around. Sasha naturally works better as a heel because in reality Sasha Banks is kind of a bitch. She's kind of a dick. Bayley is better as a face because Bayley in reality is a nice person. She's a cool chick. But I doubt it. They're going to keep Bayley as a heel because that's just how shit works. Yeah, the match was fine. I like Tegan Nox. She seems to be improving. Shotzi Blackheart, I'm starting to like her a little bit more. I like her personality. I like her quirky kind of punk rock. Tank Girl. Her gimmick obviously has to be based on Tank Girl. There's no doubt about that. I like the little tank she drives in on when she's coming to the ring. It's a nice gimmick, and she seems like a sweetheart. So I like both of them. They're very likable. Bayley and Sasha obviously winning. They celebrate in the ring, and all of a sudden Io Shirai comes out and attacks both of them. Which I don't know what this sets up. I don't know if this sets up, Io Shirai wants to challenge both of them, or she wants to just go after, Sasha. Which that would be an interesting matchup because I saw a lot of guys. I saw a lot of people on Twitter, post it that they want to see this matchup. They want to see Io versus Sasha. I think Io versus Sasha will be a better matchup than Io versus Bayley. Because I don't see Bayley wanting to be the NXT Women's Champion because I guess just how her character is, she's like, I'm already the Women's Champion. I've been the Women's Champion for, since October. Why would I want to be the NXT champion? Or she can do an Adam Cole thing and be like, I wouldn't mind having some more gold. So I don't know. If they decide to do a triple threat with Io and Bayley and Sasha somewhere down the line, I mean, that wouldn't be bad. At the end of the day, Bayley can still wrestle. We're forgetting that, we don't like her character, but she can still go out there and wrestle. She can perform. You put her in NXT, I think she would want to, have that sense of urgency of like, okay, there's no chains on me here. I can just work. I can just work how I want to work. It's Triple H's territory, or fat everyone looking. And same thing with Sasha. It'd be a good matchup. And I guess the point of Io being out there is like, this is my ring. You two are on the wrong show. This is my ring. So, the show was fine. It was a pretty good show. Oh, and I always say this, and I guess I sound like the NXT cocksucker. I think NXT, as far as wrestling goes, is better. Because you look at AEW, AEW tries to do too much, and I can see what they're trying to do, because every match from beginning to end, it's like every match needs to be 15 to 20 minutes. Just so we can show that everybody can wrestle, and that this is, the best wrestling in the world. And, we are amazing wrestling. We are wrestling. You know what I mean? They need to tone it down a little bit, because they want to give all these guys a chance, but not everybody is equipped to just go out there and have a 30-minute match. I mean, there are guys that can very well do that, but not everybody should do that. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. Kind of like in Spider-Man. Just because you had the power to do that doesn't mean you should. With great power comes great responsibility. So again, I still have it on. I'm on the main event with the Best Friends versus the Inner Circle, Jericho and Guevara. And there are some matches I kind of blanked on because we're talking about that subject from earlier. Kenny Omega and Hangman Page versus the Natural Disasters for the AEW Tag Team Championships. The match was fine. It was what it was. Again, I was kind of half paying attention because I was gearing up for the show. Basically, all of NXT not NXT, AEW, I was kind of half paying attention because I was either gearing up for the show or I was still recording the show. So I'll be honest, I'm just going to skip through everything on AEW. I'm just going to go right for the ratings. So let's see. Forbes, WWE, NXT, and AEW both see huge increases in ratings. Drumroll, please. Dynamite drew an average viewership of 772,000, up 14% from... Jesus fucking Christ. Okay, I'm gonna... Give me 1 second. I'm gonna get out of this page because I keep getting notifications. I'm gonna get out of this page because it's just... Leave server. Okay. It's very distracting when you just hear bump, 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 bump every 5 minutes. So, yeah, Dynamite drew 772,000. Came in number 8 at the top 150 original cable telecast among 18 of 49 demographic. NXT drew 746. So they still lost, but that's up 11%. I'm reading this on Forbes. But yeah, NXT again wins the ratings war, if that's what you want to call it. It's one of those things where it doesn't matter. You think it should matter, but it really doesn't matter anymore, because if you put AEW on Monday nights, they would still lose. They would still lose because Raw still draws 2 million. They'll draw 1 million. But I think at this point, AEW would kill for those ratings. Because AEW hasn't drawn 1 million, as far as I remember, in a very long time. Because they're still drawing under 1 million. NXT is still drawing under 1 million. It's almost pathetic because it's not even a war. It's not a war anymore, really. To call it a war, just to still try and think of it as a war is almost asinine because the real wrestling war is from the 90s. That was a real war. This isn't really a war because you don't really see anyone on either show mentioning the other show. You don't see Adam Cole taking shots at the Inner Circle. You don't see Chris Jericho taking shots at the Velveteen Dream. It's really not a war. I mean, these guys are friends. Adam Cole is friends with those guys. Everybody in this war are friends. Adam Cole is dating Britt Baker. Chris Jericho is friends with probably some of these guys. It's not a war. Like wrestling, it's not about being in a war anymore. It's not about trying to get over or take that spot. It's about being friends with everybody, and that's fine. But if it were actually a war, these ratings would probably reflect on that. We wouldn't be seeing AEW getting 772,000. We would see bigger ratings, possibly. Same thing with NXT. It would be a lot more interesting if they took shots at AEW. It's embarrassing. It's not interesting. I talk about the ratings because I have to. It's part of the show. But it really doesn't matter. It honestly does not matter anymore because, again, I think NXT is the better show wrestling-wise. When people are allowed back into arenas, they really should consider having the show go on the road. They really should consider going into bigger arenas, not stadiums, but just bigger arenas. I mean, look what AEW is doing right now. They have that pull because the owner owns the Jacksonville Jaguars. So they're able to be in, a semi-bigger arena where it actually looks like a wrestling show. One thing I'll give AEW is that they're, as far as like producing wise and the look, it looks like a wrestling show. NXT is the better wrestling show as far as like actual wrestling. They seem like they take it seriously and they don't goof around. They don't do this cosplay outlaw wrestling bullshit. I probably shouldn't do a Jim Cornette impression. Just in light of the events of what happened earlier. But NXT really needs to consider moving out of Full Sail. It's really time. And with Vince apparently taking over the show, he needs to consider taking the show out of Full Sail. Because NXT is still the farm system. It's still developmental. But it's pretty much the third show. Not even pretty much it is. I mean, it's... Do you guys ever remember OVW being on Spike TV? Or USA? Do you guys ever remember FCW ever being on, Spike TV or USA? You know why? Because it never happened. Because they didn't have faith in the farm system at the moment. I mean, looking back on it, it would have been interesting to see OVW on USA Network television. Or, at the moment, they were on Spike TV. Because that way you could have seen, the crop of guys like Brock Lesnar in action, or John Cena, or Shelton Benjamin, or Randy Orton, or Batista. That would have been interesting. Now, the business has changed so much. The farm system is given a lot more time in the spotlight. Kevin Castle had the idea of take NXT and AEW off of Wednesday nights, put them on Saturday, and have NXT be on at like 11 in the morning, and have AEW going at like 7 or 8 at night. That would be a good idea. I wouldn't mind that at all. Wrestling on Saturday night. We missed that. Shotgun Saturday night, WCW Saturday night, Velocity. Like that would be interesting. Because this is not a war anymore. And I don't even think Vince McMahon even sees this as a war anymore. So these shows, they either need to get better, which, I mean, that's easier said than done, or, kind of like Kevin Castle mentioned, which I wouldn't be opposed to, move it to a different night and put them on at different hours of the day. Plain and simple. It's really just, that would probably be the best idea for them. As far as like this, these shows and how they're able to make money for networks. So that's just my opinion. Let's see. So Backlash happened on Sunday. I guess we can close with the show talking about Backlash. I don't know if I want to talk about the whole situation where in Saudi Arabia, which I'm pretty sure you guys have heard. I'm pretty sure, Corbin, you've heard. So last year, I believe it was November. I guess I'm going to get into it. Fuck it. So last year there was that rumor that there was a Saudi Arabia show on a Thursday, and the very next night was SmackDown, and a lot of people were missing, and that's where they kind of how do you say it right? They kind of had to just what's the fucking word? I'm trying to think of the right fucking way to say it. They basically had to shotgun, the whole NXT versus WWE angle, which it worked out. It worked out pretty fine. I was fine with it. Improvise. That's a good word. Improvise. There was a rumor going around that while the WWE superstars were on a plane, they were apparently being held hostage. A story recently came out, and the name being redacted. The claim, let's see, former employee identified as CW2, who performed for the WWE from 2012 to April 2020, was initially told that the flight had been delayed. When he spoke to his stewardess, they were quoted as saying, "It seems someone doesn't want us to leave the country." CW2 also recalled seeing guards wearing black militia attire, staring at the wrestlers on board. He was also told by Senior Director of Talent Relations Mark Carano that Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and Vince McMahon had gotten into an argument over payments regarding the last event held in Saudi Arabia. Super Showdown. As a result, Vince McMahon cut the live feed for the Crown Jewel event, which made the Crown Prince very upset. End quote. On Wrestling Soup, or Frank and Gus, which, I'm going to still call it Wrestling Soup. They were talking about this. They wanted an in-depth deal. My God, I'm fucking up my words. In-depth detail the other night, where there's only two employees that they narrowed it down to, because it said this employee had worked from 2012 to April 2020, and there were a lot of employees. There were a lot, those furloughed and released employees recently. There's really two wrestlers that they kind of narrowed it down to. One of them being Rusev, the other being Aiden English. Well, let me take a sip of my drink before I give my answer. If I had to guess, if I really had to guess, Corbin's got to type something. I guess it was Dawson. Yeah, it could have been anybody, but they're saying it was an employee from 2012 to 2020. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Rusev, because it almost seems like a shallow reason to say it, but the way they released him it just seemed very odd. It didn't make sense why they would release him. It makes sense and it doesn't. Like, with a guy like Rusev, they clearly have never liked him. They clearly have had it out for Rusev since day one. You know, we always say the worst thing that ever happened to Rusev ever did was have a hot wife. Was have a wife that everybody wanted to bang. The story that came after this was, you know, this wrestler CW2 had went to management and said, you know, I don't feel comfortable going to Saudi Arabia anymore. And, you know, they were threatened with their career. Their careers are threatened. My guess is Rusev, because roughly around this time, they were already doing that big angle with him and whatchamacallit, Bobby Lashley. And as soon as that angle was done, Rusev just went bye-byes. He was never to be seen from anybody. I mean, he was featured here and there. I think the last time I actually did see him on television was on the Royal Rumble. And that's about it. They literally did not use him at all. So, my guess is, you know, in WWE, if you complain, you get in trouble. If you don't want to do business, you get in trouble. If you pretty much just don't want to do anything they ask you to do, you'll get in trouble. And they already didn't like Rusev. So they just looked for any reason to get rid of him, to fuck with his career. And eventually they released him. They kept his wife, which was odd, but they decided to keep Rusev. So, I mean, it could have been English. It could have been in English. I don't know. But this is, again, like we mentioned about wrestling before, this doesn't look good. This doesn't look good for WWE. They already have this lawsuit coming up. And now they're dealing with, you know, the wrestlers, well, not possibly, because there's already been, like, actual photo evidence of wrestlers just being complete dicks. WWE is dismissing allegations stemming from recent claims made by an ex-WWE star. Jerry McDevitt, on behalf of WWE, issued the following statement. After the court appointed a third law firm to be lead counsel, WWE provided all three law firms with specific detailed facts and the persons with actual knowledge of the situation, including the phony allegation about the plane. The first two law firms then dropped their lawsuits to avoid sanctioned motions, but the third firm chose to ignore the specific facts they had been provided, and instead cited an unnamed disgruntled former wrestler with no knowledge of the facts. WWE is preparing its response to the lawsuit and will be moving to have it dismissed. I wouldn't be surprised if WWE somehow found a way to kind of weasel past this. If they found a way to somehow make this go away. I don't think so. I mean, there's also the whole story that came out that WWE and Saudi hadn't come to an agreement about money. I think WWE wanted 80. Saudi offered him 14.5 million, and just WWE said no. So I don't know. Like, that story came out last year, and then AJ Styles kind of, you know, said no, that didn't really happen. The pilots were tired; and they need to take a nap, and nobody with guns came in and said, hey, everybody sit down. You're not going anywhere. We don't know. I don't know. We don't know. We don't know if this person is telling the truth. Because we can sit up here and say it's bullshit, but we don't know what goes on in other countries. I mean, you've seen this in the movies, and we can just say, oh, it just sounds like something that's in the movies. But we don't know what really happened. We've heard stories about this happening before. But you can always just assume, oh, it's just someone's just making up shit to get attention. But then again, why would this person not want to reveal their name? Usually, I don't know. There's just something funny about this. And again, it doesn't help. It kind of doesn't really help WWE's case when them and the Saudi prince or the Saudi Arabia government, or what do you want to call it, haven't come to a deal yet. So I don't know. We don't know. We can just sit up here and assume we know what happened, but we never knew. We never know. And it wouldn't shock me if that was the truth. It wouldn't shock me if, that was really the case of Saudi being like, unless you want your guys to make it home, you better pay me. So that's really my best guess. That's really all I can say about that. I don't like to speculate too much. Usually with stories like these, I never try to speculate about them too much. I just try to read them and dissect them the best way I can. All right, where are we? An hour and 10, hour and 12 actually. I guess I can review Backlash. I guess. So, Backlash. The pre-show was Apollo Crews versus Andrade for the U.S. Championship. Kevin Owens came out to do commentary. I caught the last half of this match. I like what they're doing with Apollo. I think he's a good dude. I think he's very talented. I personally, in my opinion, I think he would benefit by having a different move. What is his finishing move? I think it's like a sit-down powerbomb. Let's see. He has a spinning powerbomb. It'd be interesting if he did like a Batista bomb. So, but yeah, that move's fine enough because he was doing like a standing moonsault for a while, which I didn't really think that was that good of a move. But during the match, Angel Garza tries to interfere, then Kevin Owens stuns Angel Garza outside the ring, and Crews gets the win. Keeps the title. I don't know why this match was on the pre-show. I mean, the women's match, that really should have been a pre-show match. Or maybe even Hardy versus Sheamus, but, I mean, again, what do I know? So, yeah, the pre-show match was okay. It was a good match. You have two guys that can go out there and really go, and can put on a good wrestling match, so naturally it's going to be a good match. Then you had the opener, which was Bayley and Sasha Banks versus Bliss and Cross versus the Iconics for the women's tag team titles. Probably the worst match of the night. All three of these teams are not very good. The Iconics are not very good. I mean, we can talk about how good Peyton Royce has been, but Billie Kay is just not very good. She's terrible. Alexa Bliss is terrible. And I know that might piss a lot of people off, but she's terrible. She's awful. She's basically a Bella now, but with blonde hair. Nikki Cross, they've made her. I don't know if it's because she's picking up bad habits, or that's how they're booking her, but she just poor her. And you got Bayley and Sasha. Just, I never would have said this 5 years ago. Just, I don't care about Bayley. I don't care about a Bayley match. I don't care about a Sasha Banks match. This match was just not very good. You have three teams that are just not very good, that are not interested. You have 6 women that are not very good, except maybe Cross and except Bayley, because Bayley's the better wrestler. But I was not looking forward to this match. It seemed like it ended very abruptly, which I was fine with. So Sasha took the win for her team. We can move on from there. Jeff Hardy versus Sheamus. Wasn't Sheamus supposed to retire? Wasn't he supposed to retire a while back? I thought we were done with Sheamus. I thought Sheamus had that neck injury that meant he was going to be gone. But apparently we still need Sheamus. I'm not a fan of this storyline, honestly, because obviously Jeff approved it. But I still don't like it. I think it's dumb. I think it's very uncomfortable and very tacky, very Bush League on WWE's part, because if you're gonna have someone play the scummy heel, have someone better than Sheamus. Sheamus just can't do anything. Sheamus can't be a face, and he can't be a scummy heel. Because anus. So not Sheamus, he's Anus. Good name, Corbin, by the way. It just comes off of him being... He's almost like Roger Klotz from Doug when he's trying to be a scummy heel. All he needs is a leather jacket and that theme that anytime Roger Klotz would show up, they would play that theme, that like play that anytime Sheamus comes up. So, and I think Joey Numbers brought this up. If someone had pee thrown in their face, wouldn't they be more angry about it? Like, wouldn't they want to come out and just beat the shit out of that guy? It seemed like he wasn't angry about that. Like, I don't get it. But, yeah, Jeff is getting the shit beat out of him in this match. It looked more like Sheamus was going after his clothes rather than actually beating up Jeff or hitting parts of his body. So, I picked Jeff to win this, but he didn't. Sheamus won it, which it looks like they're going to want to continue this feud. I'm assuming at the next pay-per-view, which is Extreme Rules, which, are they going to make it an extreme match? I mean, I wouldn't have a problem with Extreme Rules if the matches were extreme, or had some extreme implication to them, and not just like 3 matches have an implication and the rest are just regular wrestling matches. Like, if you're going to have any match be extreme or have an extreme indication to it, this should have it. Make this a cage match. Make this a street fight. I don't know. But, yeah, I wasn't a fan of this match. And I love Jeff Hardy. I will always love Jeff Hardy. I'm a Jeff Hardy mark. He did everything he could to bump around and look good for Sheamus, which at his age, he really should stop bumping around. But this match didn't do it for me, and I hope the next match is the last match, because Jeff deserves better than this feud. So, anyways, next match, you got Asuka versus Nia Jax. These two somehow work good together. Like, anytime Nia and Asuka have a match, it looks like Nia is actually working. Because, Asuka she's the wrestler, but she's also the heavy hitter. She's the kicker, she's the puncher, she's the submission specialist. And then you have Nia, who's, the big girl. She's the bruiser. So it works out. This match wasn't that good, but it wasn't that bad. It ended in a double countout, which implicates, there's going to be a rematch in the next pay-per-view, which is Extreme Rules. So I'm assuming they're going to make it maybe an Extreme Rules match, maybe a submission match, an I Quit match. I don't know. Or a last woman standing match. Ah, there you go. That wouldn't be bad. Like, seeing these two girls actually beat the shit out of each other in a match with no rules would be fine. I'm fine with it. I wasn't fine with this match. Special ref match. I that wouldn't really make sense, though. You know what I mean? But, yeah. I wasn't crazy about this match, but I didn't hate it. Because the ending left it implicated that these two are going to have a match where they actually get to beat the shit out of each other. Then you got Braun Strowman versus The Miz and John Morrison. Handicap match for the Universal Championship. Braun won. It looks like we're getting Killer Braun again, and not shucking and jiving and tag teaming with an 8-year-old Braun. We're getting Killer Braun, which, again, I'm fine with that. Braun needs to be a killer. We don't need Braun with a personality. We don't need Braun out there kissing babies and dancing with, old women. We need Killer Braun, which I'm fine with. Miz and Morrison, they work well together. Lately, I haven't been digging them, but now I like them because now they're being the annoying parasite heel team that just goes after everybody and just acts like annoying dicks to them. They put out that special music video dedicated to Braun, which it was silly, but it worked. It worked for me. before the match, they changed the implication that that whoever won was going to be the champion. So Miz and Morrison thought if they won, they were going to be co-champions, which I thought could have been interesting. That would have been an interesting, thing to do. But they changed it to where whether Miz and Morrison get the pin, one of them is going to be the champion. They're not going to be co-champions. So it would have been interesting to see Morrison win. It definitely would have been interesting to see Miz win because he hasn't been a world champion in a while. But yeah, this match was short and sweet to the point. Braun won, which I didn't think either Miz and Morrison would have won, but it would have been interesting if one of them won. I like that they're not just going to play hot potato with this title. They're gonna keep it on Braun for a bit, and like I mentioned, it looks like they want to make him into a killer. Which again, I'm good. I'm all good for. I'm all good for Braun being a killer. So. Next match you had, which in my opinion I thought was the match of the night, Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley for the WWE Championship. I like Bobby Lashley with MVP. It seems like he's less of a gimmick and more of a worker. Whenever Bobby Lashley did come back to the company 2 years ago, they really didn't do much with him. I mean, he had that one good match with Roman at Extreme Rules, and they just didn't do anything with him. They just had him go out there and be a brawler. Because I'm going to give a very unpopular opinion. I think Bobby Lashley's a very good wrestler. Given the implication. I think if you push him the right way, he can be a top guy. I think if you push him the right way, he can really go out there and work. I mean, you look at his stuff in Impact, they were pushing him as a badass. And they didn't really push him like that when he came back to WWE. They just pushed him as another wrestler. And then, the whole thing with Rusev and Lana, it showed that he had a personality. A little bit. Now that he's with MVP, he's being pushed more as a brawler, as a badass. You put him in a match with a guy like Drew, who's, a little bit taller, but, they're both big guys, they're both fucking thoroughbreds. They really went out there and just, beat the shit out of each other. It was a good match. I liked it. I'm a Drew fan. Not just because his name is Drew, but I like Drew. I'm a big fan of Drew McIntyre. Big supporter. I've been a supporter for a while. I know a lot of people aren't, but I'm a Drew fan. What do you want me to say? And I like Bobby Lashley. So, and I thought these two worked well together. I thought they had a good match. I did not like the ending. The ending with Lana coming out and then getting on the apron and yelling at the ref, you're cheating, which is just like, what the fuck is she talking about? That really didn't make sense at all. So McIntyre takes advantage of it and goes for a Claymore kick, 1, 2, 3. And Lashley just looks at Lana and just walks away with MVP. Very next night of Raw, Lana gets into an argument with MVP and Lashley. MVP calls her a thought, which I'm surprised they let him get away with saying that. And then Bobby Lashley tells Lana, I want a divorce. So where does that leave Lana? I mean, because I guess she tried to flirt with Drew, and then Drew turned her down. And goes on Twitter saying, I'm married, and I'd rather walk through a sewer than entertain the thought of you. So this goes through that, Bobby Lashley wants a divorce from her on television. Where does that leave Lana? I would think they're going to release her. Because after this, do you just have her go with a random guy? Or do you get rid of her? I would say get rid of her because at this point, Lana doesn't really have anything to offer anymore. Because they brought her in primarily just to be with Rusev. And then they kept splitting her from Rusev and putting her back, and splitting her up and putting her back. Now Rusev is gone. They split her up. Now they're splitting her up from Lashley. At this point, even if you turn her face, it's not going to mean anything because I don't even think the crowd gives a shit. Or not even the crowd. I don't even think the fans give a shit about Lana anymore. I wouldn't be surprised if they cut ties with her, personally. So, next match, which it wasn't a match, it was a segment. You got the Street Profits versus the Viking Raiders in a film segment where, recently they've been doing the whole anything you can do, I can do better shtick. So they're fighting in the back, and obviously it's taped. And it's just a comedy segment. So eventually they meet up with Akira Tozawa and his own band of ninjas. Which, I know a lot of people found it funny. I'm not going to shit on that, but it was dumb. I didn't care for it. I immediately checked out. I just thought it was dumb because you really could have done something with these two teams. Like, you could have had them in a series of matches and said this whole anything you can do, I can do better thing. It's dumb. Because you got the Viking Raiders, who were War Machine in a past life, who were fucking ass kickers over in Japan. They were over as fuck and they were kicking ass. You bring them into NXT, they were kicking ass. You put them on the main roster, no one gives a shit anymore, so you decide to give them personalities. Quote unquote. It's dumb. You can't take them seriously as wrestlers anymore. Like, Mish, kind of made the point of, they're no longer wrestlers. They're characters now. You can no longer take them seriously as characters. Same thing with the Street Profits. Street Profits have always been characters, and I like them. They have good personalities, good in the ring, but you can't take these guys seriously as wrestlers anymore. They're no longer wrestlers. They're kind of, I wouldn't say buried, but as far as their wrestling career I think is buried. Because after this segment is over, how are you going to take I keep calling them War Machine. How are you going to take the Viking Raiders seriously? Like, who are the current tag champions right now? I'm trying to think. Yeah, the Raw tag champs are the Street Profits. I can't really think of a team at the moment, but you can't take them seriously. Like, let's say, who are the SmackDown tag champs? Who are the current... That's weird because I don't even know who the SmackDown tag champs are. I think it's New Day. But... like, New Day can still be goofy. New Day is over because they can go out there and be goofy, but when it's needed, they can be serious. When they're in the ring, they're serious and all business. They've proven they can leave the goofiness at the door. What's up, Range Balls? For these teams, it's... I don't see them... I don't want to say coming back from it, but I don't know. I don't think they can be taken seriously anymore. They really can't. So, again, anyone who did like that segment, more power to you. I just wasn't a fan of the segment, personally. I didn't think it was funny. I don't have a problem with humor. Just make me laugh. So, then you had the main event. Edge versus Randy Orton. The greatest wrestling match ever. Before the match, they had already said, we're going to treat this like the greatest wrestling match ever, so we're going to up the acoustics, and we're going to give that real fight feel to it, which in other words, which they ended up doing, we're going to pipe in fake crowd reactions, which they ended up doing, which we'll talk about it in a bit. So, here's what I did like. The match began with a Madison Square Garden mic unit hanging from the ceiling, and you can hear Howard Finkel's voice, which I like that. I dug that. I was fine with that. Because they obviously wanted this match to mean something. So they decided to give it that feel, which, again, I was fine with it. I liked it. I thought that was pretty cool. But as soon as the match began, you can already hear in those piped in crowd reactions. You can hear, Randy sucks. Randy Orton, Randy sucks. Let's go Edge. This is awesome. This is awesome. Holy shit. Holy shit. Boo. Yay. At one point, there was somebody wearing a Randy Orton shirt booing Randy Orton. The match wasn't even bad. The match was actually very good. It was really long, though. It was 50 minutes. 50 minutes. 5-0. 50 minutes. It's almost an hour. I mean, thankfully, the pay-per-view ended before 9. 50 minutes. Jesus Christ. These two actually went out there and worked. It was a good match. Edge was moving around and just pretty much out there killing himself. Which I'm like, dude, didn't you just recover from neck surgery? It's just, I don't know what Edge is trying to prove, and I get it, but dude, we don't want to see you hurt again. You don't need to work that bad. You don't need to work that fast. I mean, luckily the match was pre-recorded, so I guess if they made mistakes, they can obviously just edit it, or if something looked bad, they can edit it and make it look better. But again, the match was fine. It was a lot better than the Mania match, that's for sure. Like, there was actual emotion to this match. Like, it was similar to the Rhea Ripley and Charlotte match in Mania, which was probably the best match on the card, where for a second you can forget that there was no one in the audience and just watch the match. This was kind of similar. Like, you can almost take yourself out of it and think, this is actually a really good match. I like it. It told a good story. But just the piped-in crowd reaction, I just didn't care for. I thought it was cheap. It in a way, it almost kind of, it was WWE's way of mocking the audience's intelligence. It was bad. It was almost like watching, TGI Friday from ABC in the 90s. Might as well then. Edge trying to say he's the big dog in the yard. To me, it's as if he wanted Roman Reigns' spot now, then Reigns is out. I mean, you're right, Range Balls. He doesn't really need to prove anything. Edge's career is already proved. He's already proved anything he's needed to prove. But him just out there working and bumping and just killing himself, he doesn't need to do that anymore. He really doesn't. Good match, but again, too long. It did not need to be 50 minutes. You could have easily shaved off 10 or 15 minutes from this match. Easily. 15 to 20 minutes, at least. If this match were 30 minutes, I'd be fine. We would have been fine, and everybody would have went home at 8:30. We would have had a pay-per-view done by 8:30. Imagine that. So, I'm loving these pay-per-views that are over before 9. I love it. And all the podcasters are loving it, so we can't complain. So yeah, the end of the match, Randy kind of knees Edge below where they say that he low blowed him, but he didn't really low blow him. And then he goes for a punt kick, which we haven't seen that in a while. Pins Edge. And, whispers to Edge, go home, I'm the best wrestler ever, blah, blah, blah. During the match, Edge apparently tore his tricep. Let me just make sure that I got that fact right. Was it his tricep? Or was it his rotator cuff? I need to make sure. WWE official statement. Blah, blah. It was he tore his triceps, and he just successfully had undergone surgery that he's currently rehabbing at home. Yada yada yada. So he's gonna be out for a while. He could be out of action for 4 to 8 months. Jesus, depending on the rehabilitation process. So. Could be 4 to 8 months. With his age, I wouldn't be surprised if it ended up being 4 to 8 months. I mean, it could be less than that. But this feud seems like it's far from over. Because Edge won the first match, Randy Orton won this match. I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up being a third match. I'm just saying. I wouldn't be surprised if the third match is a Hell in a Cell. Because, what is it, it's June? Hell in a Cell is going to be in October. It's usually in October. And they said 4 to 8 months, depending on the rehabilitation process. Again, that would not surprise me if Edge decided, Randy, I still got more left in the tank. Let's finish this off, the best way you know how. You and me, Hell in a Cell. Like that just seems... The proof is in the pudding. That's usually what WWE likes to do with these feuds. It's like, one guy won the first match and the other guy won the second match, so now they need to have the rubber match. It just makes sense. It's, I don't remember a feud that's only been a twofer. Especially a feud that has this kind of emotion and storyline to it, where overall it's a good feud. The promos have been good to watch. The matches, I just said the recent match was good, but the promos have been selling the feud a lot more. Because you have two guys out there that can work. Edge. Edge almost seems like he's carrying the feud a little bit. Randy is not doing bad on the mic, but I think Edge is carrying this feud a lot more. Edge knows how to sell. He knows the psychology because he's Edge. What else can we say? But again, I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up being a third match at, say, Hell in a Cell. And then the next time Raw, Christian came back and called out Randy Orton. Randy Orton challenged him to a match, which ended up being non-sanctioned. Christian accepts, comes out, and then Ric Flair tries to interfere and tells Christian, you don't need to do this, don't do this. And then ends up low-blowing Christian when he's not looking. I don't know what that means. I don't know if, Ric Flair is, I don't know if that means maybe Ric Flair was like, okay, if you're going to go out there and get yourself killed, I'll make sure it's not as bad. So he ends up low-blowing Christian so he doesn't get hurt as worse. So Randy Orton puns Christian and pins him. Because Christian, as far as I know, is not medically cleared. Like, he hasn't wrestled in, 5 or 6 years. So, as far as I know, Christian is not medically cleared to wrestle. So, I don't know what they're doing with this feud. I don't know if this is going to be a one-time thing for Christian. It would be interesting if he came back for one last match, but Christian's already made it clear that he doesn't want to wrestle anymore, that he has no interest in coming back. That even if he's medically cleared, he doesn't want to wrestle. So I don't know. But that was Backlash. Not a very good pay-per-view, in my opinion. I would give it a C-. See, the best match. I said McIntyre and Lashley was my pick for the best match. The U.S. title match I thought was really good. I don't know why it was on the pre-show. If any, I think the women's match to open up the show should have been on the pre-show. It was just not very good. I did not care for it at all. I'm not a fan of either of those women. It's sad because I like Bayley, but I find myself not being interested in their matches. I made the joke before. I think she's the Meg Griffin of the WWE. It's like you remember that Family Guy episode where Peter turns to the screen and goes, "Yep, that's right. It's a Meg episode." There it is. There's the clicker. Change it. Like, that's me with Bayley. Anytime a Bayley match comes on, I'm just like, "Yep, it's a Bayley match." And then I immediately find the bathroom. Or look at my phone. The main event, I thought, the match itself was good. It was a lot better than the last match they had before. Edge out there pretty much killing himself, just bumping and just, I was just saying bumping and grinding, just, bumping and moving for Randy. I liked the match. The match wasn't that bad. It was too long. I think it should have been at least 30 minutes. At least 30 minutes. And, the piped in TGI Friday or TGIF ABC from the 90s crowd sounds, it cheapened the match. It really did cheapen it. Everything else, bleh. Like I said, C-. A lot of people called it maybe the worst pay-per-view they've seen in a while. I think there have been worse pay-per-views than this. It just wasn't very good. It was just bleh. So, yeah, that was Backlash. What about the pre-show? I actually did cover. I covered the pre-show range. The match with Andrade and Apollo, I liked it. I thought it was a good match. I like both of those guys. I mean, naturally, those two are going to go out there and have a good match. I made the argument. I thought it should have been on the pre-show. Like I could probably think of 3 matches on the main show that probably should have been on the pre-show before this match. So, but yeah, the match was good. I like Apollo. I like what they're doing with him. I'm a fan of Andrade. It seems like with Andrade, they're hesitant about what they want to do with him. It seems like they want to pull the trigger on him and make him a top guy. But at the end of the day, the English language plays a strong role on how far they push him. Because, and it's not a racist thing. It's just like, you're going to want to put him on Good Morning America. You're going to want to put him on the talk show circuit, or on like Conan O'Brien or Jimmy Fallon. And it's not like the guy can speak poor English. Well, his English is is not that great, but it's not terrible. But Angel Garza can speak better English than him. And I like both of those guys. I like Garza and Andrade. Andrade has the looks of a star. But it seems like they're kind of hesitant about what they want to do with him. I mean, he has Zelina's and it could be his mouthpiece, but I don't know. I don't know what they want to do with him. I really don't. I kind of hope he is put into that main event picture. That's just how I see it. And then the very next night at Raw, Angel Garza had a match with Kevin Owens. He lost against Owens. And then Andrade and Garza kind of got into it. Andrade told Garza in the back, if you win, then I'm fine. But if you lose, don't be disappointed. So they go out there and have an argument. So then he gets in the ring and lets them know, hey, stop fighting. I'm getting tired of you two fighting. We need to get over this. So they follow her to the back. So that's a good stable. I'm surprised they haven't been put into the run for the tag team championship. So yeah, Garza I like. Supposedly Vince likes him. That's what I heard. Vince sees him as like a young Eddie Guerrero, which I can see that. Minus the big body, which as much as I love Eddie, that wasn't natural. But Garza has a look. He kind of does look like a young Eddie Guerrero once you look at it. Eddie Guerrero, early WCW. He has that look. He definitely has the charisma. So I don't know what they would do with Garza, but could he be main event title picture? Probably not. I mean, his ceiling is probably Intercontinental title, U.S. title. So I mean, he has the charisma. He has the whole shtick of I'm a Latin heartthrob. I'm going to take all your women, and they're going to kiss me. They don't want to kiss you. They want to go home with me. Like he has that going. He has the shtick of the women want to fuck him and the men want to be like him, or maybe the men want to fuck him too. I don't know. I don't judge. Whatever people want to do is their business. So, what else happened on Raw? And that was pretty much all I watched on Raw. That's all I really remember from Raw. The main event, if that's what you want to call it. So, I already covered NXT. I hope not, Range. again, I was saying I think Lana might be the next to get axed. Because at this point, she doesn't really have anything. Because she tried going after Drew McIntyre, and Drew McIntyre kind of, put her in her place. Lashley is divorcing her, quote unquote. She doesn't have her actual husband in the company. So I wouldn't be surprised if she got axed. Because what else do you have for her to do? Because when you really look at it, WWE has kind of sullied her look for the fans because she was with Rusev when they first brought her in, and then she dumped Rusev to get with Dolph, and then she got back with Rusev, and then she left him again, and then she got back with him, and then she cheated on with Lashley, and as a fan, from a fan's perspective, you see that and go, "Fuck this bitch." like again, I wouldn't be surprised if she wanted to quit, because even if it's just a storyline, like when they announced that Bobby Lashley was gonna be her new boo or the new guy in her life, the look on Rusev's face, it almost seemed genuine. Like it almost seemed like, I know this is, we're just playing characters, but fuck, I'm getting tired of this shit. Like, that's my wife. You know what I mean? It just, when her and Rusev are together, they look like a couple. They look like they genuinely like each other's company. And again, I wouldn't be surprised if Lana, ends up getting axed. Or if she just quit. So they have nothing for her here. I'm going to AEW. That wouldn't be bad. I think he teased going to Impact Wrestling, which that would be interesting. That would be pretty interesting. Not everybody has to go to AEW. Granted, it's maybe the second biggest wrestling company in the world right now, but Rusev going to Impact would be interesting. From what I've seen from Impact on clips, because I don't have Access TV, so I can't watch Impact, when it actually happens. But from what I've seen, it's become a lot more interesting. You throw in a guy like Rusev on Impact, I think I might watch it. I might try to watch it a little bit more. And by try to watch it, try to look for links or watch full episodes on YouTube or whatever you want to call it. EC3 apparently is going back to AEW, or not AEW, Impact. After Moose's match, they started playing EC3's theme with no EC3. Josh Matthews say, "Wait, that's EC3's theme." So he's going back to Impact, which, good for him. Impact is where he made his name, is where he really became a big character. It's a shame that they did nothing with him in WWE. Nothing. It's not a case of he was brought on the main roster and they gave him a chance and he just failed at every opportunity. They just brought him on the main roster and just decided, we're not going to do shit with you. We're just going to have you hang out in catering. We're going to have you flirt with Alexa Bliss. He had a match where he pinned Dean Ambrose, but that's about it. And the crowd was cheering for Dean Ambrose. They literally did nothing with him. Nothing at all. And that's shocking. They wasted all their... I don't know. Why would you go out of your way to bring someone back? To bring in a name like that and just do nothing with them? Then again, maybe there's something that we don't know. Maybe he was a piece of shit backstage. Maybe he thought too highly of himself. We live in a different age in wrestling where, a guy like Shawn Michaels can be a prick to everybody backstage, but, they look at it as but he can still perform. He can still go out there and perform and draw. Hogan is a piece of shit, but he still draws money. Ultimate Warrior is kind of a wackadoo, but he still goes out there and draws money. Nowadays, if you have a bad attitude, then that's kind of the nail in the coffin. So, yeah, he's back in Impact Wrestling. So, Impact Wrestling, I want to see it do better. Once upon a time, I was singing the praises of TNA. I was singing their praises, because once upon a time, TNA was actually fun to watch. You had the AJ Styleses, you had Samoa Joe, and dare I say, Christopher Daniels. And then when you brought in more interesting pieces like Christian and Kurt Angle, it was interesting to watch. But then it just became a WCW thing of, let's spend more money instead of making it. Let's forget about what made us a success, or what made us not even a success, but what made us more interesting to watch. And let's bring in more and more talent. Let's basically make it WWE diet. So it looks like they're slowly getting back to that. Let's make our own homegrown talent. Let's bring in people that aren't as known and make them stars. And they're doing that. So good for them. And then you get the NWA. NWA is doing the whole Carney Land shtick, which I'll admit I haven't watched it. I haven't listened to it. I heard it's very good. So, and I want to give it a chance because I like NWA. I'm a big Nick Aldis mark. Speaking of NWA, Ricky Starks made his debut on AEW, which I mentioned earlier, challenging Cody for the TNT Championship. So, any truth to Heyman the TNA rumor? I haven't heard that rumor. I just heard it from you. Heyman to TNA, I doubt it. I think that ship has sailed. I think as far as Heyman being a creative guy is kind of sailed. He got fired. I mean, we all know the story. He got fired as the head creative for WWE, even though he was starting to do better. And then they decided to give it to Bruce Pritchard. Which, yay. I think if Heyman did go to TNA, he would make it a lot more interesting. But I don't know. The podcast with Roll Tide. I don't see Paul Heyman doing any business with Conrad. I know Conrad's like in bed with a lot of guys who hate Paul Heyman, so he probably hates Paul Heyman by just pretty much by default. But yeah, it'll be good to see a lot of these other companies that aren't in this quote unquote war with WWE between WWE and AEW. It's always fun when the business thrives. Whenever you see other companies in a perfect world, I want to see all companies do well. I want to see WWE do better again. We all do. We all want to see NXT get better. We all want to see AEW thrive. We all want to see Impact be interesting. We all want to see Ring of Honor be interesting. Ring of Honor at once upon a time was huge, and then I don't know what happened to them. So we want to see the wrestling business thrive. That's all we want to see. As much as I'm not a fan of AEW, I don't want a company to go out of business. I don't want people to lose their jobs, especially during this time. You think NXT UK is going to fold? That's a good question. Honestly, I don't, because it's a WWE thing. I had mentioned earlier, I had heard earlier from John Draper that the indie scene over in the UK was starting to fold. And Julian brought this up, that, the Soup guys had kind of brought up that, more so Joey Numbers, that WWE is promising a lot of these guys money and big paychecks. So that way, a lot of these indie companies can not really fold, but not really fold or go out of business, but just to say, hey, we own you, so you can't go anywhere else. If you sign with us, you can only work with us. You can't go anywhere else and make money from them or have that company make money. So, honestly, it shouldn't fold. It shouldn't. Honestly, who's watching NXT UK? Because I've heard good things about it. I heard the crowds are, they're white hot. The crowds make the show enjoyable. But who really cares? Who cares? Because I don't know who has the time. Yeah, because there's like a shit ton of wrestling out there. You sneeze and there's like 5 different shows. So they really should just consider getting rid of that and just focusing on NXT and WWE. Miraculously, they still have 205 Live. Like, 205 Live has stood the test of time. I mean, Impact Wrestling has, but 205 Live, supposedly they were going to cancel it and just, like, have the cruiserweights be, I guess, absorbed by NXT, which would have been interesting. But I guess with the whole COVID thing, there's a lot of guys that don't want to travel. So, I mean, for a second, it looked like they were going to bring in, fans, but now there's the whole second wave of COVID shit happening. That's another story for another time. But, oh fuck, my back hurts. I got wicked sunburn from yesterday because I went to the beach. It wasn't as crowded at all. It wasn't even anywhere near crowded from the past, so it was pretty safe to go. Anytime I go to the beach, I never not leave with sunburn. Like, I always somehow get sunburn. I freaking put on 2 coats of suntan lotion, and I somehow left with red all over my back. And it hurts like a bitch. Like, it hurts like a fucking bitch. We had a fun day yesterday, because that was kind of a day we needed. It's been pretty hectic. It's always good to get away and just relax. Better get the aloe vera. Yep, good idea, man. I think we have some aloe vera. But, yeah, we were driving home. It felt like we were literally driving home forever. Probably because it was in the dark. As soon as we got home, I just fucking crashed. I just jumped in my bed and just fell asleep. So, anywho, shit, how long did I go on this episode? This is probably the longest solo episode I've ever had. 158. This is the longest solo episode I've had. Ever. So, I mean, it's good talk. It's a good conversation. Range Balls has been getting the conversation going. Corbin's, gotten the conversation going. So yeah, I appreciate you guys for showing up, doing this late show. I don't know. I might consider moving the show, not to another day, but maybe I don't know. I might do more of these late shows. I don't know. It seems better to do a late show. I think more people show up to a later show, but I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. I think I've changed the time on the show more than once, because it used to be at 9. Because before, when I started the show, I never had an exact time. I would just say, "Hey, I'm going to record at this time with this person," or like when I used to have a co-host, I would go by his schedule. But then, when he decided to just shut me out for whatever fucking reason, that's a long story. Then it just became me. And then I realized, okay, I need to actually set a time for the show, so people actually know when to listen. I think before it was like 9, and Range Ball says I have a Zoom call with Tony Schiavone tomorrow night. Wow, really? How'd you get that, man? I'm not even saying it to be a dick. How'd you get an interview with Tony Schiavone? That's pretty cool, man. Want any questions answered? How does Adam Cole feel about you? I'm playing. At the moment, I can't really think of any questions I'd have for Tony Schiavone, but I would imagine he'd have a lot of questions about the whole Mick Foley thing, about when he, said the whole "that'll put asses in seats." So, at the moment, I don't have a questions range, but I appreciate it, man. But what was I gonna say? Yeah, on Wednesday, I would have the show be at 9. I had it on Wednesdays, and then the whole Wednesday Night War, quote unquote, happened, and I realized I have more material to work with on my show. Then I realized I have no way of hanging out. I have no way with keeping up with 2 shows at the same time. How Don Tony does it, I'll never know. He's a better man than me. DT's the man. So I decided to move it to Thursdays, so that way I have time to watch both shows. Like if I can't watch both shows at the same time, I can just watch one show and watch the next show, like at the beginning of the day. So I had the show at 6, and then a certain podcast, which I'm not going to mention them by name, Soup of Wrestling. I love Wrestling Soup. They know I love them. They decided to move the show at 6:30. I mean, so I was like, "Fuck." in a polite way, Soup. I love the Soup. They love, and I hope they love me. They say they do, but I love the Soup. They know I love them. So I decided, all right, I don't want to get in the way of Soup time. I don't want to compete. I'm not going to compete with that. So I just decided to move it like an hour earlier, which can be good. It can be good and run some problems. So, so I don't know. Now that I'm doing this 8:30 show, I might consider moving it to a later time. I don't know. It's a thought. When I actually make the decision to move the show, I'll let you guys ASAP. So, anyways, I'm gonna head out. I'm gonna do some shout outs. Wrestling Soup, Wrestling Soup GTKC. Go to their Patreon. Just $5. We'll see. Shout out to Trez, who's on KNT Chronicles with Kevin Castle. Shout out to Wrestling Court with Julian and Rob. Shout out to Brian J. He has Soup Podcast, Wrestling Reanimated, which I was on. Which you guys can look for that. We did a 2-parter booking the invasion angle. That was long. That was 2.5 hours of fun. Listen to that, guys. You won't be disappointed. And then he has Horror Reanimated, which same thing as the wrestling show. It's him looking at, I guess, like old horror scripts and kind of putting on his own spin on what he wanted. Kind of like fantasy booking, but a little bit more creative. Texas Podcast Massacre. Shout out to those guys. I was on the show 3 times. Right, Tyler the Trademark. Ruben Prime TV. Clothesline Media with Shane. Also, Nuclear Heat Graphics. He created the logo I have for the show. He created, and he also created another one for me. So I mean, it's pretty pricey, but it's worth it. It's like in the Joker. It's like the Joker from The Dark Knight. If you're good at something, you never do it for free. The guy's the man. So shout out to him. Get in the corner with Dogger Baby and Aew-Nxt. Aew-Nxt made the theme for the show. So I need to get in touch with him because he talked about doing a theme. So hopefully he's okay. Hopefully Dick's okay. He tagged me in something. So I think he's okay, but I don't know if he's busy. So I'm going to have to talk to him about that. Range Balls, you have a podcast. Do you have a podcast? I think... No. Oh, you have a podcast. So is it like a YouTube show? I'm asking because I'm curious. Currently waiting on Range Ball's answer. I'm a VIP with Tony's Patreon. Oh, okay, so... Alright, so you're going to interview him tomorrow. So... That's interesting. No, we talk every week. Oh, okay. Alright, cool. So... If you're a patron on Tony Schiavone's... Or if you're on Tony Schiavone's Patreon, look out for that episode with Range Balls. So, what are some other shows I forgot to shout out? If I forgot to shout anyone out, I'm very sorry. Oh, yeah, Fall Scott Radio with Andrew Carlick. The Architect Podcast with Derek and his friend Irvin. They haven't done a podcast, and I was concerned about that. Peter Position with my friend Peter. And, yeah, again, that's pretty much everyone. If I didn't shout you out, I'm very sorry. Pretty much listen to everyone's podcast. He'll post the interview with Tony. Cool, man. I'll check that out. Yeah, listen to everyone's podcast. Find me on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, The Drew Yari Show. I'll be back next week, same time. Might not even be the same time. I don't know. I'm thinking about doing later shows. I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out ASAP. But yeah, take care, guys. In 25 minutes, if you have a PS4 and you live in Central Time, if you have a PS4 and you pre-ordered The Last of Us, it will be playable in 25 minutes. To my knowledge, it will be playable in 25 minutes. So, I don't know if there are any Last of Us fans listening to the show. If there are, that shit will be available in 25 minutes. So, I'm stoked for that game. I was a big fan of the game. I already know the ending. Don't tell me. Don't tell me. I have a feeling what the ending might be. But again, I'm one of those weirdos that likes to be surprised by everything. But anyways, I'm going to jump on that. If you follow me, if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, which I post the shows on my YouTube, I also do like streaming. Like I'll stream games. I played the first Last of Us. You can find that on there. I played the entire Uncharted series. I'll do some more games, but I'm definitely going to be streaming Last of Us 2. So, anyways, that's the show. Did 2 hours and 7 minutes. It's pretty maddening. Again, it's the longest show I've done as a solo act. So, anyways, guys, take care, peace out, and have a nice night.